Hello, I'm Curt Whitesell and want to welcome you to the coolest and most informative podcast in the Westfield, Indiana area. What's Up Westfield? What's Up Westfield is a local chat fest to dig deep into politics, development, and who's doing what, and anything else we can fit into 45 minutes of fun online. If you have a topic or an interest in being an amazing guest, please reach out to us and we'd love to hear your ideas. Today's guest is Macy Troyer, the owner of Goldie Social Media and the author of Ready, Mindset, Go. She's doing big things as a young entrepreneur and helping a bunch of others along the way. Please welcome Macy Troyer to the podcast. Hi, Macy. Welcome to What's Up Westfield.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
You're welcome. What would you normally be doing at 9:57 on a Tuesday morning in your life?
Yeah, definitely on my laptop doing some sort of work, but every day looks very different. So right now, before we hopped on a call, I was revising a contract for a client.
So are you a work from home person?
Yeah, most of the time I work from home, but I am an extrovert and very extroverted. So I love going to a coffee shop or a co-working space. So that's kind of my jam too. But if I need to really focus, I'll work from home so I don't get distracted wanting to strike up too many conversations when I'm out and about.
Or distract others, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I have a place. What is your number one go-to, I want to get work done in public place?
So I don't have a go-to anymore. I used to work out of Serendipity Labs in Carmel at the pond. But now I just kind of like hop around. I did like the new indie coffee roasters last week, which was great. I do the Starbucks sometimes, the one, near downtown, whatever that one's called. And then, that's mostly it. So what about you? Give me a good hack because I don't have a go-to place.
My number one place, hands down, is the Renaissance Hotel lobby in Carmel. There's a Starbucks, there's a restaurant if you really need to. It's nice. And there's just enough activity so you don't feel alone, but it's not like chaos like a Starbucks.
Okay, so I'm going to write this down. Okay. Thank you for sharing this hack.
That's the best thing I got today. That's all you're getting out of me, by the way.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay.
All right. So my first thing, I have a problem with you.
Okay.
I got a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
What's your problem with pineapple on pizza?
It's not a thing.
As a pizza guy.
I know, as a pizza person, you are. So I like to keep my savory and sweet separate. And so for me, it's like I don't want to mix the two. And so like a marinara sauce or some sort of like sauce with cheese and pineapple, with my taste buds, it's like a hard no.
It's not happening, huh?
No. What about you? What's your favorite kind of pizza? Is your favorite pineapple?
Well, here's my problem. I can't really eat good pizza anymore because of my dietary restrictions. Because literally every ingredient on pizza I can't eat.
Yeah.
But I have discovered recently, what are they called? What's the fish? What's the fish you put on pizza? Anchovies.
Yes, anchovies
and pineapple. Yeah.
Okay, you're throwing me for a whirl here.
Yeah, I saw it on TV and I thought I gotta try it, and it's delicious and it stinks. It's all the stuff that you'd think it was, but it's insane. And so you're not gonna be able to experience that. You won't like it no matter what. So
I'm
of
so
all the
glad
things in your book,
like
that's what I took from it, was that you don't like pineapple on pizza. All right. So we got that out of the way. Why don't you start by telling us your backstory? Who are you? This is personal stuff. Like, who are you? Where are you from? How'd you end up to live in Westfield as who you are now?
Okay, happy to share. So I'll backtrack from my childhood years. So I'm a Hoosier gal through and through. I grew up in Southern Indiana, in Bedford, Indiana. So if you're a basketball fan, you're probably thinking, okay, Damon Bailey is like our basketball guy. So grew up in Bedford, Indiana. And on my mom's side, my grandparents immigrated from Egypt. So they went from Egypt to Scotland, Scotland to New York, New York to Bedford. And my grandpa was a physician, and he thought that the whole United States had different pockets, kind of like how New York does. So New York has different, like, cultural pockets. So we thought the whole country was like that. So when he went to interview to be a physician and work in Bedford, he thought it was just the best thing. The people were so sweet, and he thought it was going to be like a Scottish culture there. And so him and my grandma moved with their 3 children, and then they stayed there and have lived there their entire lives. And so that's how I ended up in Bedford, because my grandparents, and then on my dad's side, my dad is from Southern Indiana, so he's from Bedford. And then my dad and my mom grew up together because my uncle, my mom's brother, and my dad were best friends growing up. So they were always kind of in the same circle. That was, I guess, their like invisible string, if you will, a Taylor Swift reference of how they were kind of always connected. Awesome. Yeah. So grew up in Bedford, had an awesome childhood, was very active. I did play basketball myself and did dance and gymnastics, and just had like a great upbringing. I have a sister and just a close family. So I was really grateful for that. I was an average student, so school was really difficult for me. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if anybody who is young is watching this and is struggling in school too, there's hope. I promise it's not going to feel like this forever. There's another side to it, which is amazing. So after I went to high school, graduated, I moved to Indianapolis, and I went to IU at the Indianapolis campus. And the first year, didn't know what I wanted to do necessarily. I was torn between nursing, because I love people and taking care of people, or business. And so about, halfway through the semester, I was like, okay, business is more for me, because I was doing the exploratory classes. And then when I was in college, I really found my identity and what works for me and what my values are as a young adult and who I want to become. So college was really pivotal for me for maturing and kind of, just like coming into myself and understanding who I want to be as an adult. So college was awesome. And then I met my husband, Luke, when I was in college. He was not in college, but we connected. And after I graduated from college, I moved up to South Bend, which is where my husband, Luke, was living at the time. And so moved to South Bend. So I kept going north, which means it keeps getting colder.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Wait, so was Luke how did you meet your husband that lived in South Bend when you were at IU at college?
Okay, so this is a fun story. We met online.
Cool. All right.
Yep. Nice. So we met online through do you want the story?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make it short and sweet. So there's a dating app. It's called Bumble.
Yeah, I'm not on it, but yeah.
Yeah, I was on it, but I wasn't using it. But my profile was up and active. And so he was actively trying to find a wife. He was he's a few years older than me. So he's out of college trying to secure the wife. So he found my profile, but on Bumble, the woman has to message the man, and I wasn't using the app. I just forgot to deactivate my account. So he found me online. He found me based on my first name, Macy, and Kelly School of Business, and Googled, and then found me on Facebook and found me on Instagram. Jeez. Yeah, so it was a whole series of creeping. So you got to be careful out there. You might find your husband. So
you had no idea you were being tracked down, did you?
Yes, and I'm so glad that I was, because I wouldn't have known that he existed unless it was for a Bumble and the Internet of Things. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, we're glad. He's a cool guy. I'm a big fan of Luke. So
yeah, thanks. Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
All right, so you move up, you graduate. What was your major in? Your degree in?
So I triple majored in marketing, business management, and international studies. So I knew I was going to graduate and do something in the marketing space. I wanted to do market research initially. And then when I met Luke, things kind of changed because of the job market in South Bend and what was being offered there. So my first job out of college, I worked for Cressy Commercial Real Estate in the commercial real estate space, which I know that you appreciate. So I was a market strategist there, which was like a glorified term for business development. But I also did event planning, social media marketing, internal communications. It was a really fun first job. I'm forever grateful for the experience that I had there. Yeah, it was a blast. And they're a company that if you say, hey, like, I want to do this. They're not going to say no. They'll say, well, like, if you think that it's going to work and you've done your research, let's try it.
Mm-hmm.
So really almost any idea that I had, they would say, yeah, let's try it. So I was grateful for that because that helped with my growth. And so I was there for 3 years, almost 3 years. And then 2020 hit and I thought I was going to become a commercial real estate broker.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I started having other people in the community in South Bend saying, hey, we see what you're doing on social media. Will you come work for us? Will you do some consulting work for us? And so I also had my idea of starting a business. And so I had the two going on at the same time. And then the first day I stopped working my salaried position was March 1st of 2020.
Okay.
And so I was going into brokerage and I was pursuing Goldie full time, trying to do both of them and seeing what one works or what one I like better or how I can serve people better. And then like March 16th or 15th is when COVID happened. And so it was really hard for me to break into commercial real estate after that. And Goldie started doing really well because more than ever, businesses needed communication. So it became very apparent, within 15 days, okay, I'm going to pursue this full time and not do brokerage. And so that's where I'm at.
What was it like on because you're trying to start something on the side. I didn't do that. And so you're trying to start something on the side, but you're working a full-time job. Where was your mind at during the day? For me, it would be really hard to chase the job when I have something I care like doing, like the marketing.
Yeah. So I was passionate about both. I really loved my employer. I love them even now. They're amazing. And so I just had to separate because I had to be a good employee and I had to do good work during the day. And then what I would do is I'd go to the gym after work. So that was kind of like my mental break of separation. Then I'd cook and then I'd work all night on Goldie. So that was like 6 months and it was pretty tough. But I don't have children right now. And at that point I didn't have children either or animals. Yeah. And I was very determined to make this work. And so there's really no excuse. The only limitation is myself at that point, and I was aware of it and wanted to make it work. So you just got to put in the work and hustle for a few months. And that's the only thing I could do. That was my only option. No one was going to create it for me. So
what's in the name of your company? Was that the first name?
So the first name was Blossom Social Media.
Okay.
And it was spelled BLOSSM. And I rebranded the spring of 2023.
Okay, to Goldie. And what's behind that name?
Yeah, so Goldie is spelled GOALDY, like goals. And there's two reasons why we named it. First, I just love the name Goldie and it's unique, the way that you spell it. So with our SEO, our search engine optimization, and now we're getting into the nerdy digital marketing stuff. That just means we don't have to compete with other names that are spelled similar to us. So it's spelled so unique that with SEO, we can help beat out our competitors with certain keywords. So that was one reason. Thank you. Some people are probably like, Goldie, why did you spell it like that? But it works for us. And then the second reason is just because of the name, the word goals is in it, GOAL. So I like that because we always say we help our clients achieve their goals, their business goals. And then our tagline is get the Goldie. So gold, also like shiny gold trophy, also achieving goals. So it means a couple of things. And it's just it's a fun word to say.
So, and when I was starting my company, I didn't have any exposure and you have to come up with a name or what I don't think a lot of people think about the name as their marketing. A lot of times their name just describes their business. And so I do like that you were intentional in coming up with a name that it also was working for you, not just as an identifier. So I don't think a lot of people think, mine relates to, 70-year-old men. So it's not really, it's not for SEO at all.
Sure.
So I think that's cool. Did you have any pushback initially with that name? Because it's not a word we know. Or did everybody kind of like it?
So I ran it by some, I ran it by Luke, of course, by some family members, and it wasn't a quick process. It was, 2 months of revising and, I'd go to the gym or go work out and I'd have an idea based on a song that I heard or something and I'd write it down real quick. So I played with it a lot and I just wanted people to feel confident saying Goldie. So I had different ways of spelling it. And some people were saying, is it Go Aldi? And I was like, no, it's not the grocer Aldi. So I had to finesse it a little bit to get it to where people felt confident saying it.
Yeah.
But as far as pushback goes, the name before was pretty feminine, Blossom. So the pushback, there's not much to compare it to because it is not as feminine as Blossom. And that's what I wanted to get away from. But I still wanted it to be like a fun, unique name that really stands out. As a digital marketing company, you have to be able to stand out. And so with a thoughtful name, that was one in our. So that's how my DBA name is Goldie, but my entity name, my LLC, is Papyrus Group, and papyrus is it's an old plant. It's an Egyptian plant that you can write on. So back in the day, they used to write. They would write letters on a papyrus. And
papyrus.
We're creative. We write, we create. And with my background being Egyptian, I was like, I love Papyrus Group.
Yes. It is a great word though, too. It's fun to say papyrus.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I put a little papyrus on that, please.
Yeah.
All right. So you start your company. You're how old are you when you're starting Blossom and Goldie? How old are you?
23.
Okay. So you're 23 years old. Your world is 23-year-olds, right? The marketing space is full of people from young to old. Yeah. Who was going to be your target market? Who did you think, man, they need help the most when you were starting your company and getting into it and start selling yourself?
Sure. So I didn't have a specific niche that I was going after. I could look at their social media platforms and their communication and say, hey, I can support them. My very first client that I had, and they're still a client today, which I'm so grateful for, they were going through some issues with their reputation. There were rumors in the marketplace.
I can relate.
Right? Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. There were, some rumors in the marketplace that they were going to go belly up. And so my first client was a big client to take on because I had to develop a plan of, we're not going belly up and not directly say that. So it was a fine line. And then also, what are we doing now to make prospects, customers, and employees, confident in our business that we're not going anywhere. We're actually innovating and growing. So that was like my first client. And what was fun about that was just being able to refine their reputation in a brighter, better way, especially in 2020. When people were really unsure what was going to happen to a lot of these companies. So that was a very fun first client. So for me, even now, if I have a prospect that comes to me and says, hey, will you work with us? I ask them, a lot of different questions to see if I can really support them and if our team can support them. But also because what we do is so visual, and it's a portfolio and a resume for every company, their social media channels. And whether we like it or not, they're going on there. So I can quickly kind of take a look and say, okay, I can support you based on your target market, your goals, your vision, or I can't. So we're industry agnostic at this point. We've worked with over 30 different industries, but that's what makes it fun because we're always learning. Yeah.
Is there an industry that you've worked with that you just haven't enjoyed or you just don't feel like it fits with your style of branding and marketing?
That's a great question. So we've turned down jobs because they don't align with our values and our mission. So that's a no-brainer for me. I can sleep well at night, and so can my team if something is not, ethical or pushing a positive message for people to be their best, fullest version of themselves. So I would say, I've turned down jobs so I didn't have to feel like that. There are definitely industries that are a little bit more dry. And the fun part about that is the challenge of making it relevant, cool, fun is awesome because there's a blank slate here. All of your competitors, they don't have anything interesting to say. It's all dry and boring. So we get to come in with this creative lens and just blow them out of the park and make them look amazing and become industry leaders. So
do they immediately do they immediately feel the impact of that? Do you get the best feedback on clients like that?
Yeah, so it really depends on the scenario of what they're going through. If they're dealing with, kind of like more of a PR reputation issue, then, that takes a few months to clean that up. and to make sure people in the community are spreading better rumors, or they stop the rumors completely because of our messaging. It really depends on the client when they see an ROI. So social media is more of a long-term game. The first 3 posts, maybe you'll get more impressions. We always guarantee you will get more impressions on the content we do. But we can't say, hey, within the first month, you're going to get 10 leads. This is not paid. We're not paying people to, drive traffic to your website or call your sales team. So it's based on us dating your audience and understanding what they like, what they don't like, what do they engage with, what questions do they have, what messages are they sending us. And with that data, then we create content.
So your standard client, what are the first handful of services you provide to them?
So we do social media marketing and management. So we take all of their social and we'll own it and do all of the writing, all of the graphics. We'll do all of the videos, messages, reviews. We take care of everything on social media. So your sales and marketing team, whoever's responsible for that, does not have to worry about that at all. We'll take care of all of that. We also do consulting, training, workshops. I might even do a live event this year based on some demands that I've seen of people wanting to learn more about social media marketing, some younger folks. So I might do like a live event with training on social media best practices if you're wanting to manage, your own channel better, or manage a channel or land an internship, for example. So we offer a variety of services. Our specialty is social media, but because of demand and people giving us a compliment saying, hey, we love your website. Who did it? We did it. So we're like, well, if people are really, thinking that this is a great website, maybe we should consider offering website services. We did a great job at it. People are saying this is the best website I've ever seen and complimenting it. So we do also offer website services and email marketing services. And we're also bringing on a videographer here soon. So they'll be able to handle all of the content creation for clients and be able to fly out to them or drive to them and serve them in those needs too. So we're growing with the needs of our clients and what they need. We want to make it easy for them to just say, yep, we've been working with Goldie for 3 years, 2 years. We trust them. They know who we are. They know what we need. They know our competitors, and they'll take care of it. So that's our overall goal.
So for the most part, do people leave their social media with you, or do they try to take it back?
No, they leave it with us.
They leave it with you. Because you've proven how easy it is to let someone else manage it and how much more effective it is. Is that what you just prove it real quick to them, and then they don't want to deal with it anymore? Yeah,
exactly. Okay. And when you think about if a business's goal is to scale and you've hired a vice president of sales and marketing, they've got some big goals, isn't it worth outsourcing something that takes up a lot of their brain space? It's making them frustrated and it's slowing them down from, hitting their revenue goal for the year. When you frame it like that, it makes so much sense. Oh yeah, why would I not just pay an agency to take care of it? Then I don't even have to think about it, and I can focus on getting more clients for our business.
Yeah. It really is a distraction for especially companies that are expanding people-wise and their space is growing. So it is a distraction. So
and what we do too is if they're wanting to grow, what we can do is create messaging for them about their culture and hiring and share testimonials from their team members. So we support them with whatever business goals that they have too. So we're really coming in as a marketing partner to them and not just, somebody in the corner that you never talk to. We're like, hey, we saw this, that we got a Google alert about, your business name popped up and it was this. Is this accurate? Can we share this? So it's a very collaborative effort.
All right. So you start Goldie. You are cranking along. You've got a bunch of clients. You got a team. By the way, how big's your team? Who is?
We're 6 now.
Okay, 6 full time or 6 so on the call.
They're contractors, so they're account managers, but they exclusively work for Goldie. So that's really awesome.
That is nice. All right, so then you're killing it. You're having fun, and all of a sudden you decide you want to do more work. And so you decided to write a book. Is this your first book?
It is my first book, yes.
Actually, this might sell more podcast views if I cover.
Stop! You're so funny.
So you write this book. Why did you decide to write a book and actually get it to publishing and go through all the effort to make it the real deal?
Yeah. So there are a few reasons why I wrote it. There was a specific moment where I remember when I first started my business that summer, I went on a family vacation. Our whole family goes, they go to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and I didn't have to ask for PTO. I worked on vacation, but it wasn't working as in like, oh, I don't like this. I was so inspired and like encouraged to just like get
Mm-hmm.
things done. And I'd go to the beach, and I just felt so empowered that I took the leap, and now I'm on this vacation. And so I was like, I want anyone who has ever thought about starting a business to feel encouraged and have the steps to do it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's so amazing. Like I feel free, I'm inspired, I'm happy, I'm serving clients, clients are happy. So I wanted to empower people to do, to start their own business, which was one.
Mm-hmm.
I also had people asking me, hey, you started your business at 23. How did you do it? I'm scared. I'm afraid of what people will think of me. What if people laugh at me? What if I fail? And if you are out there and you're thinking, well, I want to start a business, but what if I fail? If you fail, you have to go get a job.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
very simple,
Yes,
right? It's like,
that's right. If you fail,
yeah,
you have to go get a job.
that's it. You have to serve people in a different way, and you'll have to go get a job from somewhere. And if
Were you
that's
a
the
book?
worst risk, then that's easy.
Were you a book person? Were you read a lot of books? You read a book that helped you get started, or were you not a book person?
Yeah,
Why a
I'm
book?
a book person. I mean, what's a book person? Like I read a handful of books a year. I'm not
Uh-huh.
like, I don't have book reading goals. I listen to
Uh-huh.
podcasts. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan.
Uh-huh.
I read online, but I'm not setting goals
It
for reading books, but I do like to
That's what
read.
I'm talking about. You're not really a huge go to the bookstore physical book.
Yeah.
And so you chose that to do
Yeah.
as your medium. Why did you choose a book, a physical book as your distribution for this?
Yeah. So I was encouraged by some people to start a YouTube channel.
Okay.
With my work, I'm always online. I'm always on the internet. I'm always,
Uh-huh.
on a screen. And so I thought, okay, I don't want to do that. Um, and I started journaling about my process of entrepreneurship, and just kind of like the hardships. And what I realized is a theme that it was like all mental for me. And so that's also another reason why I wanted to write the book, is because I had, some journal entries, if you will, about my
Hmm.
experience, and was like, wow, if I just like keep continuing this, I can probably divide this into chapters and an outline
Hmm.
and really build it out just to be a book.
About, well, like 20 years ago, it was really cool to write a book. It
Yeah.
seemed like everyone starting a company was writing a book. And I actually started to, and I remember it was so negative and sad because I was like dwelling on the problems of
Yeah.
starting a company because that's what it was probably overwhelming me, right?
Yeah.
But so it was nice. It's a nice, refreshing book. You talk a lot about self-esteem and
Yeah.
finding your Prince Charming or Princess Charming to her son. Um,
Yeah.
I read it and I thought, poor Luke, because I thought he's the Prince Charming. But what are you talking about there? You seem like a confident person. Are you just telling a story, or why are you relating that?
Yeah. So the first one is self-belief, self-esteem is a must. You
Yeah.
cannot sell if you do not believe in your abilities to serve people. If I don't have self-confidence and self-belief, I'm not going to be able to get clients. And if I do, it's maybe just because I was able to fake it, but you won't be
Hmm.
able to retain clients because your mind is going to think, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I didn't do this right. Like you're going to be on
Hmm.
edge. So that's the first one. The second one is the whole Prince Charming. The reason why I wrote that is I actually envisioned somebody that I know and grew up with. I had this person in mind, because I've seen some things about this person, and I've heard some things from close friends of mine about where this person is going, and they are leaning on other people to form their success or to give them money or make money for them, which is sad because that's not from a place of empowerment,
No.
self-confidence, self-belief. That is having other people write your story for you. And I also am online, so I read a lot of trends of what's going on.
Hmm.
There was last year and even in 2020 as well, there was this theme of being a sugar baby. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's
No.
Yep. So it's really tragic, honestly. And the fact that it was a trend and people were encouraging this is astonishing and just
Huh.
telling us where people's heads are at and the lack of self-confidence and empowerment they have in themselves. So what it is they
This
will
is
have,
PG, by the way, this show.
yes, this is PG.
Okay.
Of course, yes. But they have, they're the sugar baby and there's somebody that's responsible for, taking care of them, giving them money. It's not to
Huh.
do certain acts that are not appropriate, but just in general, it's like you have this confidant that takes care of you. And if that's what you want, sure. But I think that takes away who you're really supposed to be and the story that
Yeah.
you want to write in your life. But if you don't have a vision for your life, then you're going to have somebody else write the story. So that's why I wrote about Prince Charming. Overall, no one can create the life that you want for yourself. No one can put in your head who you believe about yourself and the story that you tell yourself except for you. Even if you have the most amazing person in your life, like I have Luke,
Mm-hmm.
it's not Luke's responsibility to write my story and make me happy and push me to start businesses and become my fullest version of myself. So that was debunking the Prince and Princess Charming, is because I want to empower people to not wait for somebody to come along and make life easier or better for them. You can decide today that you're going to make your life better and easier and more fulfilling right now without waiting on anybody else.
So, I'm trying to figure out how to become a sugar baby, just so you know.
You
I
crack me
sound
up.
really easy. You can write my book, Jen. Um, so, all right. So then you start talking about finding the clarity to move that forward. So, what are like some steps that you tell people just to start with out of habits to go from not wanting to be a sugar baby
Yep.
to becoming your own Prince Charming and gaining the clarity to write your own book?
Mm-hmm. There are so many steps in the book. There are so many things that you can do. And it's a lot of introspection of, okay, where am I at? Where do I want to go? But if you can't even create a vision, you have to start thinking of who am I? What are my beliefs? What are my values? So thinking about like back to the basics of what do I value in my life? What is my mission? Why am I put here on this earth? And you can develop mantras, affirmations from that. If you need to retell a different story that you're telling yourself about yourself. If your goal is to start a business, but you don't know what it is, what I would encourage you to do is be more aware of what it is when you're talking to somebody that really lights you up and gets you excited. So is it, hey, I'm explaining how this cup stays warm on the inside, and I'm explaining all of the products on the inside that makes it warm. And that just gets me like super excited to talk about all the pieces and this at the bottom. Like, what is it that makes you excited? Is it explaining something, or is it technology, or what industry? And that's one way that you can think, okay, what I actually like to do this every single day. Could I create a business from this? And then you got to do a ton of market research and test the products and come up with the price points and manufacturing. So there's a lot of steps, but I think the very first step, if someone wants to start a business but doesn't know what they want to start, is to think of what gets me excited to talk about. Because when you're in a business, as you know, Curt, you're in it every single day. You're thinking about it all the time. So you don't want to get burnt out. And so something that gets you excited to talk about. And what about you? What would you recommend for somebody?
I I would say study that. I always tell people when they're getting started, become an expert on it. I think it's real easy to be, so to create good habits of studying it and be like you were talking about this cup, knowing the specifics of that cup and taking the time to actually know what you're talking about. Cause there's a lot of people out there just selling, themselves really, and the excitement. So I just think it's becoming an expert on something. I'm not a big do what you love person. I'm in the end, it all becomes work.
Yeah.
But I think if you, like you're saying, get excited about it, it definitely will drive you a lot further in the beginning than if it's just desperation. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Curt.
I had nothing. I wasn't going on. You go.
Okay. I think it's so interesting that you said you're not a do what you love person, because I think maybe like you're jiving what you're supposed to be doing, because I can feel that you love what you do. You love your customers. You love serving in the way that you do. For me, it's like, if you don't love what you do, because one of my personal values is fun, and people kind of like laugh at that. They're like, wait, fun is a value? Yes, it is. Like, I want to have fun in my life. So for me, because one of my values is fun, I have to love what I do. So I think that for me, it's also thinking, what are my values and how can I live that out every day with the work that I do and be able to make money and serve people and feel fulfilled?
Mm-hmm. It's true though, and when I say it, I'm saying just because I love tacos,
Yeah.
or I love to cook. So I've always thought we blend a make your hobby your career, and I like make my hobby my hobby. Not that I
Yeah.
have any hobbies. Just because you love your hobby doesn't mean it should be your career. And I think a lot of people get caught up with this dream of, well, because I really love being a hockey player, I'm going to make that my career.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's probably not. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But if you are really good at something and you pick something with some success, I feel like that makes you happy, and then you enjoy that work. And so it's like
Absolutely.
backwards to me.
Yep.
Does that make
That
sense or
makes
not?
sense. Yes,
That's why I
absolutely.
don't write a book.
Thanks for explaining, because now I get it. But you're right. Like, just because you like something doesn't mean that you should pursue
Mhm.
it or that's going to be a viable business idea overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is So you wrote this book, and it seems sort of like a study guide, and it's you can take notes and write answers. Would you envision this being something people look back to and reread or refer to when they're going through a different time of change or something?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this book isn't only for aspiring business owners. As I've been
Mm-hmm.
told, this isn't just from me as the author. And people have told me, wow, like you can use this in life, just to encourage you and inspire you to take action in your life. Chapter 8 is pretty heavy on starting your business. So chapter 1 through 7 is all still very applicable for anybody who's
Mm-hmm.
just wanting to take action or kind of see themselves again. Like, wow, like I just need a refresher to feel empowered in my life again. This is a
Mm-hmm.
really good read for it. And it's called Ready, Mindset, Go, because before you take the leap to do anything, you got to get your mind right, or you're
Mm-hmm.
going to experience burnout. You're going to be mad. You're going to feel a resentment towards, the job or somebody, something. So it's checking off all of those things and doing a lot of work internally before you take that leap. So when you do, you're fully present, you're fully able to serve your clients. You're the best version of yourself. And that's what my hope is for these people.
So I failed the best version checklist, by the way, when I went through it.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I got anger problems. All right. So it seems like, and I know a lot of this is your book, but I like your book. And
Thank you.
one of the things is I have a 17-year-old daughter, and not involved, but I'm around a lot of her engagements with other kids her age, high school kids, and
Mhm.
I'm intrigued by the high school kids and their aspirations now, because when I was in high school, we talked about becoming a basketball player or going to work at Post, the manufacturing plant. So, um, and there's a lot of resources for men and C-level executives and things like that. Do you see this as a good tool for young women? And are there other great tools for young women out there that we don't know about?
Yes, I love this.
Terrible wording, by the
No,
way.
this is great. I get it. I understand whatever we
Uh-huh.
just. So thank you for asking. I
Mm-hmm.
have a huge heart for young women
Mm-hmm.
because I was one, and I've
Yep.
got cousins and I've got younger friends that I mentor, but I also think of them as a friend as well. So the book 100% is for young people as well. So I would say, freshman year or so, they could start reading it in high
Mm-hmm.
school.
Yeah.
Of course they could read it younger, but there's some pretty deep topics in there. And so if it's their first time ever hearing it, they might be like, oh, maybe
Mm-hmm.
I should talk to my parents and understand what our values are a little bit more, for
Mm-hmm.
example. So yes, I definitely think so. That it'd be a great book for young women to read, especially chapter 3, romanticizing your life,
Mm-hmm.
debunking the myth about Prince Charming and waiting for somebody to create your future for you. As far as like resources, Curt, are you asking about like local resources for young women or what specifically?
If you were a 15-year-old girl
Mhm.
and you don't know what you're going to do and you're excited and you want to figure things out, where would you be finding resources? Where would you be looking for some answers or some guidance? Whether
Ooh,
it's a book or online or a mentor, what are some things that you would suggest for these young ladies?
Yeah. So this was me when I was 15. I didn't know what I wanted to
Hmm.
do, how I wanted to work after I graduated. So I'm very grateful for my family because they always said, you can do whatever you want. You can become whatever you want. Like I wanted to
Hmm.
be an astronaut for a long time. And my
Still
dad was
could.
like, always said, you can become an astronaut if you wanted to be an astronaut. I also wanted to be like a famous singer. So, all the things.
Mhm.
So my parents were really helpful for me. So if somebody doesn't have parents that encourage them or say, hey, like I've got a connection, you should go job shadow for a day, or
Mhm.
watch some YouTube videos about day in the life of being a nurse, for example, or being an accountant. um, I would recommend finding a mentor that you think is cool, a mentor that you look up to, because if you don't think that they are, I guess the word, maybe I should choose a different word than cool, but if you don't like respect them
I
or
like
think,
that.
yeah, I see myself being like them, or I want to be like
Hmm.
them, then you're probably not going to be excited when you meet up with them for coffee or chat with them on the
Hmm.
phone. So getting a mentor, I would say absolutely. Doing research online, I mean, with the internet, you can see behind the scenes of people's lives at work. You don't even have to go job shadow somebody specifically. If you just want to take a look before you go job shadow, you can watch YouTube videos. There's TikTok out there. As I mentioned earlier, I really like Tony Robbins. I think maybe he's a little bit more mature for a 15-year-old. So I
For
maybe
a
would.
47, he's more mature for a 47-year-old.
Not true. Not true. I watched I'm Not Your Guru. It's on Netflix. I watched that when I was in college, and it's a Tony Robbins. It's Tony Robbins at his event. After I watched that, I think it changed my life forever because of how
Really?
I could see living life intentionally is so important. I don't know if it's appropriate for someone who's 15, but I think a senior in high school
Hmm.
would totally get it and resonate with it. So I would say Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru for older people who are in high school.
Who? What? And um, I don't. It's because I don't know. But you bring up Tony Robbins. I think of the coaches on YouTube, right? The people coaching people. There's not a lot of women, and
Right.
I'm surprised there's not a lot. And there's the Sadie, who's the Sadie Robinson. I would say she's kind of a
Yeah,
life coach, kind of, right?
yeah, you're right.
Um, Not that I've ever read anything she's ever written, but I see her as inspirational.
Yeah.
But other than that, and I know they're out there. It seems like we're definitely lacking in the world of female entrepreneurial mentoring online and shows. Do you think
Mhm.
that's true, or am I just not a woman?
No, I think Kurt, you're spot on. And I've actually never thought about it until you brought up this point right now. And I'm
Hmm.
not sure why it's like that, where they're mostly men who are, known as the coaches or have like a big
Hmm.
platform. I'm not really sure why. And I
Yeah.
hope that we see a wave of more females, especially with social media marketing and Instagram and
Hmm.
TikTok and using those as outlets, that we see more females.
Hmm.
That would be
Because
amazing.
couldn't you think of 100 men on YouTube right now or Twitter or whatever, and then Grant Cardone
Yeah.
screaming at me? So, um, yeah, so I would love to, and I know there's women out there, and I know they're out there. I think it's definitely lacking. Definitely an opportunity for young girls these days to be leaders in
Absolutely.
industry. So,
Yeah,
um,
you're
what are some of the biggest struggles? So you write the book, you probably get lots of feedback. You're 3 years into your business. What are some of the biggest struggles people are having with their companies right now, starting up right now?
Mhm. From what I've heard, data I
Uh,
know, or just from
yeah.
my own experience.
No, what do you think? Yeah, just what's your opinion? What's something hard about starting a business right
Yeah. From like an extrovert standpoint, I would say it feels kind of lonely.
now?
And I wrote about that. It's so important when you start a business. Don't just go in and like go to town and try to get things done. Get
Hmm.
out, network, stay in contact with people, get a mentor, join groups, they can be professional groups, but don't just go all in and just be at home all the time. You have to network
Hmm.
anyways in your business. And although you're like, I'm getting so much work done, you got to go out and about. I would say self-belief is another big part of people who haven't been successful in their business.
Hmm.
Because maybe they're not able to learn new skills and tools because they're like, well, I don't think I'm going to be getting any better. So they're not like sharpening themselves and,
Hmm.
enhancing their professional development because they don't believe in what they can achieve because they don't have a vision for their business or a vision for their life. So I would say like self-belief is huge. Maybe the story they're telling about themselves is spiraling out of control. And one day they're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Hmm.
And I've had scenarios where I started telling myself stories about, oh, my clients don't think I'm working because I didn't respond to their emails, but I am working. I'm just not responding to emails because I'm working on their content. And so if I kept telling myself that story, I would be super anxious all the time. And so it's just small things like that. You have to be confident in what you're doing, the services you're delivering, the product that you're delivering, and feel good about that. And what do you think, Curt? I mean, you're dealing with customers all the time.
There's definitely a disconnect. I think we've gotten really good and capable at working independently and remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel as it used to be in commercial real estate that it was all about your relationships. It was knowing every broker, knowing every building owner, knowing the tenants. And now it's not. Now it's just getting in the way of a deal, finding your way in the middle of a transaction. And there's not much relationship building going on like it used to be. And so I think that's it. The networking, the good networking has gone by the wayside too. And events that are designed around good networking and making good connections, I think are very few and far between. So I think that's probably the hardest thing. We got really comfortable with this, and we got really comfortable email and texting. I mean, I've got clients I never met, and yeah, they're perfectly fine with texting and getting through that. But you know what? There's another broker out there that could one up me all day long because my relationship is just online or a text.
Yeah,
And
that's so
so
true.
we
That
miss
is true.
that.
Yeah, we have to go the extra mile to make them aware of who we are and why to work with us. So
Yeah.
I get it. Same with me. Some clients I've never seen in person. I've only Zoomed because they're
Yeah.
across the country. And so, yeah, there could be somebody else that comes through. And so I think that's another big part is how can you go the extra mile for the client? So yes, this is in our contract, A, B, C, and D, but I also throw in 3 little more things to just help you be better than your competition and give you a competitive edge. Because I want you to win, but I also want to be more of a partner with you, and not just do these things and check them off. I go above and beyond. So I'm sure you agree that's like one good way to stay sticky with a client is make sure you're giving them more than they asked for.
Where is the action at? If you were a 25-year-old starting a business, where is the networking going on that you know of that is quality networking? It's hard, isn't it?
I don't know if I'm the person to ask that question. So I would say,
you weren't around when I started, there was chambers historically have been terrible places for networking. It was about chicken and a presentation. Of course, that's all changed. When I started my company, there was an organization called Rainmakers, which was like a modern day, anyways, they trade business, and it was all about making connections with each other. And it was intentional. They put you in a room and they made you talk to a stranger.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I had to build my own power circle locally, but I used that model. And now we have some chamber stuff going on. But do you think there is an opportunity for young people to create their own networking programs and events, their own circles still?
Yeah, I'm sure there's an opportunity. I owe a lot to networking and connecting with people for why I'm here now with Goldie and how I've been able to scale fairly quickly. I think it really depends on, I think networking quality depends on what you're offering. So I need to talk with business owners. And so for me, with my business, going to like a young professionals event, which I enjoy personally just for fun, but I wouldn't say that's great networking for my business all the time. But it is fun. I go to chamber events with Westfield and think they're awesome. I love participating in those, and I've made great connections, and it feels good to know people in the community, and people talk about people. So it's not just, hey, if there's no decision makers, I'm not going. I think there is an opportunity for young people, but I don't know how they would be able to differentiate themselves from other groups. So I've been part of Synergize. I don't know if you've heard of that group. They mostly do work in Carmel. They've got to give back during their events. That's what makes them different. But I think if there's another networking group that comes along and says, hey, we're going to start something, I would be so curious and would love to hear how they're going to differentiate themselves. That's going to convince them to go to this over young professionals of Westfield, for example.
Okay.
So there could be an opportunity. I just personally don't know how they would be able to stand out or offer something better than what we have now for young professionals.
Okay, good stuff. The last thing, what do you have to say? What do you hope for young people getting started today? And just kind of what do you have some advice for people to getting going, especially young women in the business world?
Oh, this is just my heart. I was going to say, just call me, text me. I'd love to help you and get coffee with you. I've actually thought about starting a mentorship group with young women because I mentor 3 women. And so I'm on calls with them, meet with them. And so I thought maybe it'd be fun to do like a big group. So I've actually thought about that. And if I do that, I would love to talk with your daughter and have her part of that group if she's interested. I would say for some advice for a young woman would be listen to your parents. I would say listen to your parents. They know what's best for you. And then try to craft a vision for your life and just visualize, who am I? Where do I see myself in 3 years? Where do I see myself after high school? Don't put so much pressure on yourself. I mean, I graduated and didn't even know what I wanted to do when I was in college. So the first year I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So don't put so much pressure on yourself, but be open to you changing and also doing something that people in your circle have never done before. So in my family, for example, none of them are entrepreneurs. And so when I had my idea for Goldie, they were all like, what? Well, and especially with social media, they're like, I don't like, how can you make this a business? Are you going to make money? Are you going to be okay? So I think also being confident in who you are and being able to say, hey, I'm going to do this, even if no one's done it before me. I believe in myself and I know that it's going to work. So those are just a few things that I thought of off the top of my head. I maybe should have prepared for that one because I want to be sure that I'm encouraging them in the right way. But yeah, I would say, listen to your parents is one, create a vision for yourself, and then be open to doing things that nobody in your circle has done before.
You are the first podcast I've ever done where someone said, listen to your parents.
Really? I think like your parents, like, so with my parents, it's like they were amazing. Like if I didn't listen to them, like some things that they said, I was like, why am I doing this? But I'm so glad they taught me hard work. And if you don't like something, you can't just quit in the middle of the season. You're going to finish it out and you're going to do your best and you're going to go to practice. They taught me, hard working, being resilient, getting up in the cold and doing this and going to basketball practice. Like all of that shapes who you are and that can shape your work ethic. So I had great parents. So I'm saying listen to your parents because of my experience, but I don't know if that's for everybody.
No, I think that what is interesting about it's just so simple. It's like your parents probably have looking back, I'm old, but my parents were right on about 97% of the things they told me, even though I thought it was opposite.
Right.
So, I think listen to your parents. It's just simple. And
they want what's best for you.
Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. We love what you're doing locally in Westfield and with the chamber. And I love your brand and all your stuff and your book and your inspiration for young ladies. So keep it up and thank you.
Thank you. And I love the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for all the great things you're doing in Westfield too. And thanks for having me on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow.